Okay, so let's unpack a concept today that feels a little philosophical to start.
Oh, we're getting deep right out of the gate.
We are, but stick with me, because it leads directly to one of the most terrifying sci-fi settings we've looked at in a long time.
Right.
I want you to think about environmental determinism. It's this old debate in geography and sociology. Basically, the argument is, does the mountain create the mountaineer? Does the desert create the nomad? Or do humans just kind of...
Just figure it out regardless of where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the classic nature versus nurture debate, but applied to entire civilizations. Usually in the real world, we say it's a mix.
Right, because we have tools.
Exactly. We have technology, we have air conditioning, we can cheat the environment, we don't let the weather dictate our government.
They absolutely cheat. But what if you couldn't? I want you to imagine a universe where the planet you're standing on isn't just a backdrop. It's not just dirt and sky.
It's an active participant.
More than that. Imagine a universe where the environment is an absolute dictator. It decides your biology, it decides your technology, and it ruthlessly shapes your society.
And that is the core premise of the NeoMercy claim universe.
Yes.
It's a fascinating piece of world building because it takes that determinism and turns it into a hard, unbreakable rule. The creators built this story engine where you can trace a direct line from the geological traits of a planet all the way up to the political ideology of its people.
And it's a massive sandbox, too. Looking at the source material, it outlines a scope of 100 primary worlds, like literally cataloged IDs 1 to 100.
Plus the extra set, right?
Yeah, the outlier set called the Earthline, which is IDs 101 to 110. It's huge.
It's incredibly dense.
But what grabbed me wasn't the size, it was the logic. The sources describe it as this unbroken chain. The world shapes the species shapes the society, and the society dictates the technology.
Right, which means you don't just have conflict because, that guy over there is evil.
Exactly.
You have conflict because of resource scarcity, trade disputes, and biological imperatives that spring directly from those planetary environments.
It's all rooted in the dirt.
Yeah. And sure, hovering above all of this cosmic hierarchy are the gods, basically.
Right, these omnipotent entities that act as the arbiters of reality. But for our deep dive today, we aren't looking at the gods. We are looking at the ground.
We are looking at the shadows, actually. We're zooming in on one specific case study that perfectly illustrates this whole world shapes weapon logic.
World ID 44.
World ID 44, Edenstone. And a character named Arenestra. And let me tell you, if you think you know the assassin archetype...
The ninja in the night sort of thing?
Yeah, the guy in the black hood. This completely destroys that trope. This creates a whole new level of biological horror.
I'd agree with that. Arenestra is arguably the perfect example of this universe's logic. She isn't just a warrior, she is a biological response to a geological reality.
Wow, biological response to a geological reality.
I love that.
But to really understand her, you first have to understand the rock she stands on.
So let's paint the picture of Edenstone. The sources describe a world of eternal twilight. There is no bright sunny day, there's no pitch black night, just this heavy, oppressive gray.
But the real kicker is the ground.
Yeah.
The planet is covered in these massive veils of black sand. And this isn't normal silica you'd find at the beach.
No, not at all.
The material is described in the text as indestructible, but it has this terrifying property where it is acoustically and visually absorbent.
Meaning it swallows light and it swallows sound.
Right.
Think about that for a second. If you scream on Edenstone,
the sound just doesn't travel.
The sand eats the vibration entirely. If you
Yeah.
shine a flashlight, the beam dies a few feet in front of you. It's claustrophobic.
Now, apply the story engine logic to that. If you live in a world that eats sound and light, how do you evolve?
Right, you can't rely on shouting to warn your tribe of danger.
You can't rely on bright colors for mating displays, so the dominant species, the Evechol, evolved into beings of shadow. They are naturally secretive. Their true forms are hidden even from themselves, veiled by pure instinct.
And crucially, they are telepathic.
Which is the only way a society could function there.
Right, if the air swallows sound, you better learn to talk with your mind.
Exactly.
So you have this species, the Evechol, who are natural-born assassins because their environment literally hides them. And into this dark, quiet, telepathic world, Arenestra is born.
She is born into the Asianation Covenant. Now, this isn't just a government, it's a bloodbound faction. Think of them as the unseen hand of Edenstone's rulers.
They're secret police, almost.
Yeah, their job is to eliminate threats before those threats are even known. So Arenestra isn't born into a family in the traditional sense. She is born into a function.
A tool from day one. And reading through her early biography and the source material, it's clear she wasn't just another recruit. The text calls her a prodigy of the grain.
Yeah.
I mean, all of Evechol can command the sands to some degree as part of their biology. But Arenestra, she is the sand.
The milestones listed in her file are disturbing. At 5 years old, most kids are playing with blocks. She was turning stone walls to dust just by touching them.
Just touching them.
At 7, she's shaping that loose dust into blades sharper than steel.
But here's where it gets really interesting and terrifying, frankly. The age of 10.
Oh, the training hall incident.
Yes. The source describes a moment where she silenced an entire training hall. It's a chaotic room, telepathic projections everywhere, training noises, and she wants quiet. She doesn't yell.
She can't really.
Right. She commands the sand suspended in the air to literally swallow the sound waves.
That is a fundamental mastery over physics. It silenced the room instantly. That suggests that for her, the environment isn't something she lives in, it's an extension of her own nervous system.
She didn't just ask her quiet, she enforced the laws of physics to create it.
Her mentors were terrified too. They were whispering that maybe she carried a trace of Khaeos.
Which we will get to in a bit.
Right, but they didn't have proof. They just knew she was incredibly dangerous. But here is where the narrative takes a really dark turn. Her childhood, it didn't just drift away as she grew up, it was severed.
The loss of innocence. It's a classic narrative beat, but here it is executed with such brutal efficiency. She's sent to erase a traitor marked by the Covenant. She enters his chambers cloaked in darkness.
And the description here is visceral. The black sand flows like liquid through her hands to form a blade.
And the result is absolute silence. She didn't flinch. She didn't cry. The source says from that night forward, she was no longer a child. She was Evechol.
That line is heavy.
It really stuck with me. It implies that to be fully Evechol, to be fully a creature of this world, you have to embrace that coldness.
Exactly. That is the moment the weapon was forged. But being a prodigy with a sand blade wasn't enough. Remember, she is fighting other telepaths.
Oh, this is the best part.
If you are fighting someone who can read your intent, physical stealth is completely useless if your mind is screaming your location.
Right. If I'm standing behind you with a knife, but you can hear me thinking I'm going to stab him, I'm not a very good assassin.
You'd be dead in a second.
I'd be super dead.
So this leads to the next phase of her development, what they call the discipline of nothingness. Her training moved into the caverns beneath Edenstone. She spent hours blindfolded, surrounded by other killers, waiting for her to slip up.
No pressure.
Right. If she betrayed even a flicker of intent, they would strike. She had to learn to empty her mind into an absolute void.
I can't even imagine the mental discipline that takes. To be active, to be lethal, but to have zero thought process that can be detected. It's like becoming a black hole in the telepathic spectrum.
And while she is mastering this mental void, her relationship with the sand evolves too. She stops just making blades. She starts acting like a combat engineer.
Yeah, she starts shaping the battlefield.
She creates fortresses. She creates traps. She can collapse entire floors into pits of suffocating grain.
But there is a horror element here.
Yeah.
That we definitely need to discuss.
The voices.
Oh man, the voices. This part gave me chills. The source material mentions that the black sand of Edenstone isn't just inert rock. It holds echoes.
It's a very gothic concept for a sci-fi setting. The black grains contain the echoes of the assassins who fell before her. Now, a normal person might go mad hearing the whispers of the dead in the weapon they're holding. It's essentially psychometric haunting.
Yeah, but Arenestra,
She listens.
she treats them like tutors. That is so practical, it's scary. Instead of freaking out, she lets the dead teach her angles and patience.
She weaponized the haunting.
Exactly. The source says she walked with the wisdom of the dead. That is a heavy reputation for someone so young.
It connects back to that idea of environmental determinism we started with. The sand creates the culture. The sand holds the history. By mastering the sand, she is literally wielding the history of her people's violence, and she becomes horrifyingly effective.
Unstoppable.
Mercenaries, off-world leaders with high-tech armor, it didn't matter. She left no traces.
She was a ghost. But even ghosts can be haunted by something bigger. And this brings us to what I think is the turning point of her entire existence. Act 3. The myth of Khaeos.
Up until this point, she is a tool of the Covenant. A very expensive, very deadly tool, but a tool nonetheless. That changes when she goes off-world.
Right, she's on a mission to destroy a raiding guild.
And in the ruins of this guild, she finds these ancient carvings.
Buried beneath black stone.
Hmm.
And these carvings are older than the Evechol species itself, and they are glowing faintly.
And they tell a story about Khaeos.
Now, looking at the broader mythos here, who or what is Khaeos?
The carvings describe Khaeos not just as a god or a creator in the traditional religious sense, but as shadow incarnate, a being who commanded the sand as an extension of existence itself.
And Arenestra has this light bulb moment, or I guess a shadow bulb moment. She realizes, wait a minute, maybe we aren't just assassins who evolved in the dark. Maybe we are fragments of this thing.
It's a fundamental shift in her identity. She theorizes that the Evechol were shaped by a hand beyond comprehension. And once she believes that she's a fragment of a shadow god, her loyalty shifts.
Big time.
She stops training for the Covenant. She starts training for the return of this entity.
And the Covenant must have been blind not to see this coming, because her powers level up immediately. She learns to phase into the sand. She can move through dunes like smoke.
Imagine trying to fight someone who can just dissolve into the ground and reappear behind you.
You can't.
This is the exact moment the Covenant realizes they messed up. They build a weapon they can no longer control. They start whispering that she serves something greater. And that shift in power dynamics is a classic trope, right?
Yeah.
The institution creates the monster to protect itself, but the monster outgrows the institution.
Frankenstein's monster, basically. So she is powerful, she's enlightened, but she isn't finished. She needs a final test. And in this universe, you don't take a written exam.
No, definitely
You
not.
go to the Vale of Endless Dunes.
This place is brutal. It's a wasteland of black sandstorms. The environment here is dialed up to 11. Visibility is absolute 0. Sound is totally obliterated by the roar of the wind. Most assassins who go there never come back.
And she goes in alone. The physical toll sounds excruciating in the text. The storm is scouring her armor. She's breathing sand until she's convulsing. It's man versus nature in the most brutal sense. But the physical part isn't the real test, is it?
No, it's the psychological battle. The ghosts in the sand return.
But they're different this time.
Right, this time they aren't helpful tutors teaching her dagger strikes. These are the echoes of the people she slew. They are striking her with what the text calls blades of memory. They are whispering about her failures, her weaknesses.
That is literal nightmare fuel, fighting your own victims in a blinding sandstorm. And if she fights back with rage or fear, she loses. Right, because those are loud thoughts.
Exactly. Rage implies engagement. Rage implies you care and that you are projecting intent. To win, she had to double down on her training. She doesn't scream. She fights with absolute silence. She uses her mastery to have the sand devour their forms. She imposes her will, her nothingness, onto the chaos.
She emerges weeks later. No fanfare, no award ceremony. Her cloak is shredded, her armor is scarred. But the text says she is unseen, unnamed, unstoppable.
She has transcended the need for validation from the Covenant. She has become the embodiment of the environment itself.
And that leads us to the final image of the source material. Arenestra standing on the cliffs of Edenstone under the starlight. The sand is literally bending to her presence. And she delivers this monologue that just sums it all up. She says, I am shadow, and I am silence. I am the blade unseen, the storm unending. I will not yield.
It's a really powerful declaration of self. If we connect this back to the NeoMercy clan engine, that idea of world-shaping species, species-shaping society, we see the full circle. Edenstone's harsh environment created the Evechol. The Evechol's need for secrecy created the Covenant. The Covenant's ruthlessness inadvertently forged Arenestra, and now she is a being powerful enough to unmake the shadows that birthed her.
It's almost like the planet created its own avatar.
Precisely. And in a universe with the 9 watching from above, having a mortal or near mortal who can command the fundamental elements of her world is a massive disruption. She isn't just an assassin anymore. She is a force of nature.
It really makes you wonder about the other 99 worlds in this NeoMercy universe. If Edenstone creates shadow assassins, what does a world of endless ocean create?
Right.
Or a world of constant volcanic activity?
That is the beauty of this story engine. Every world is a new experiment in extreme adaptation. Arenestra is just one outcome of one variable set.
But what an outcome. She is the kind of character that really sticks with you. Not because she's a hero, I mean, she is definitely a killer, but because she is so competent. There's something satisfying about watching someone master their elements so completely that they become a myth in their own lifetime.
It's the competence, yes, but it's also the isolation. To become that powerful, she had to shed everything else. Her childhood, her fear, even her own thoughts. It's a tragic kind of perfection.
Tragic perfection. That is a great way to put it.
And you have to ask, what happens next for her? She has outgrown the covenant. She is waiting for a shadow god that may or may not return. She is effectively a loaded gun sitting on a table waiting for a target that is worthy of her.
Well, the Covenant better hope she doesn't turn that barrel toward them.
I think they already know it's too late for that. They are just living on borrowed time, hoping she keeps looking at the stars instead of at the throne.
It's a tense standoff on a planet of eternal twilight. I love it.
It really highlights the strength of the source material. The NeoMercy clan universe isn't just throwing cool ideas at a wall, it is building a structure. And when the structure is solid, the characters that emerge from it feel real. Arenestra feels like a logical consequence of her world, not just a cool idea for a character.
That is the key takeaway here. Context is everything. You can't have Arenestra without Edenstone. You can't have the silence without the sand.
And you can't have the weapon without the threat.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Why should you care about a shadow assassin on a fictional rock?
I think it's a lesson in adaptation. Obviously, we aren't telepathic assassins living in black sand, but we are all shaped by our environments. We are all products of the systems we live in. Arenestra shows us the extreme version of mastering your environment rather than letting it crush you. She took the very thing that made her world hostile, the suffocating sand, the silence, and she made it her strength.
She owned it. She didn't just survive the twilight. She became the shadow. That's a pretty empowering thought, even if you aren't planning to silence a training hall with your mind anytime soon.
Haha, I should hope not. But yes, it's about agency. Even in a deterministic system, there is room for individual mastery.
And that is where we leave Arenestra, standing on the cliff, waiting for the gods, with the sand swirling around her boots.
A fitting image.
We have covered a lot of ground today, literally. From the story engine of the NeoMercy clan to the specific, gritty details of Edenstone's most dangerous daughter. It's a wild universe, and we have only scratched the surface of one world out of 100.
And don't forget the Earthline worlds. There is plenty more to explore in this mythos.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought. We talked about how the Covenant created Arenestra to ensure their own survival. They honed her, they hardened her, they stripped away her humanity to make her a perfect weapon.
And now they fear her.
Exactly. So here's the question I want you to walk away with. When a system, whether it's a society, a corporation, or a galactic empire, perfects a weapon to ensure its own control, what happens when that weapon outgrows the hand that wields it?
Does the weapon serve the master, or does the weapon become the new god?
Something to mull over in the dark. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you on the next world.